I'm with my sister Amy Shackelford, who lived in Kenya for 2 months in 2011, and she's going to be giving background on the Kenyan culture and the communities that she worked in. So, what did you do while you were in Kenya?
Well, we really did a lot of things. First of all, I worked with an organization that tried to build self-sustainable communities by partnering with members of the community. So they would raise up certain leaders and focus on 5 different areas. They focused on the foundation was spiritual formation, but they did that through avenues of micro enterprise, meaning business and the economy. They worked through the health system in the communities, the education, and then also just different types of water projects too, because a lot of the communities don't have clean water. So we really tried to pretty much empower the leaders to work to build self-sustainable communities, so eventually we wouldn't have to be over there to help them anymore.
And when you were over there, what were the politics like? Did you ever experience anything that you felt unsafe or that just didn't feel right? Did you ever have to watch what you were doing?
Yeah, we did. We had a lot of safety boundaries that we had. So wherever we were a group of American college students. So we had Kenyan bodyguards actually, and we camped in a lot of the communities. So we were out in tents, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And so we had armed guards who were with us just in case something were to happen. I didn't necessarily ever feel unsafe, but we did a lot of things to protect us, such as getting in before dark and never going anywhere alone and traveling in groups and things like that.
So with their culture, was there anything that was offensive to them that you did? Or what did they teach you going over there?
Yeah.
Not like the do's and don'ts of being in their culture.
Yeah, there were a lot. The first one was we were not allowed to give anything. We couldn't give them water bottles or clothes or anything like that, mainly because it ends up hurting more than it ends up helping, because you're not empowering the leaders in their own communities to do something. You're just kind of giving them a handout instead of a hand up. So we were not really allowed to do that, but we were allowed to help them think of ways to create those resources for themselves, which was actually a lot harder than it seems. And then we also, the culture is really interesting because they're very giving. Even though they don't have a lot, they want to give you anything that they possibly can. So if somebody were to give you chai tea in their home, if you didn't drink it all, you were considered very rude. And if you didn't eat all of the food that they gave you, you were considered very rude, because you were rejecting pretty much the most precious gift that they could give you and the only thing that they could really offer you. So those were 2 of the biggest cultural differences that we faced in Kenya.
And when you went over there, obviously you had to exchange currency. Mm-hmm. And what was that process like? And were you shocked how low the currencies were and how mm-hmm. high, and just the in-betweens?
Yeah, when we got to the airport in Kenya, that was the first thing that we did after getting our bags. They had a currency exchange bank in the airport that we went to, and so we got all of our shillings, is what they're called over there, which is their form of currency. And I was really surprised. A lot of the places that you go to purchase things, specifically in the markets, you don't pay the full price, like the ticket price that's on there. You pay through bartering, and so you will find people who really try to charge you $5-10 extra for certain things that should only cost $2. And then you'll find other things like a pair of tennis shoes that over here would cost maybe anywhere from $50 to $100. And in Kenya, I bought a pair of really nice tennis shoes for $10. And so that may seem like nothing to us, but over there, most of the kids that I saw weren't even wearing shoes. So it's a very big luxury to have over there, even something that just costs us $10.
Okay, so obviously our business is dealing mainly with children, but that impacts their families and everything. So, what are the children's needs in school and even out of school that you notice the most?
Yeah, what was really interesting was we would be out in a community and we would start waking up at about 5 o'clock because that's when the rooster started crowing and they were just kind of everywhere. And so we would wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning and see kids walking to school because it would take them 2 hours to get to school by walking. Um, and on top of that, they're not getting fed. And so not only are they walking 5 miles to and from school every day, but they're also not getting the proper nutrients that they need to even sit through a class and be able to pay attention. And so food programs are phenomenal because it not only meets their first physical need, but it allows them to meet their second and third and fourth higher up needs just by meeting that basic need. And what happens a lot of times is, especially in the communities, the father is not necessarily around because he's either not in the picture at all or he's in one of the bigger cities trying to work and just sends money home every month. And so the mom is left with all of these children and trying to take care of her family with very basic things such as dirty water and a clay and mud house. And so what happens are the kids actually start raising families, raising their younger brothers and sisters as early as like 7 or 8 years old. They could be taking care of babies. And so it is absolutely necessary that they get food because they're not getting it anywhere else.
So, another thing that we have thought about for our business is that in America we take school for granted. And we just are like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. And we don't notice that we have meal plans, and if we live on our own, most people have enough money to buy food. So, how does that impact their life? And do they look at it as, oh, I don't have any of these things? Or do they look at it as, I'm excited to go to school because they get to better themselves and they want to strive for something more? Or what was like a difference you noticed in that?
If you told me in America that I had to walk 2 miles to get to school every day and then walk 2 miles home, I would not go. But these kids, if they get the opportunity to, because really education's a luxury, even in the middle schools, in elementary schools, if you have the opportunity to go to school, it is like the greatest gift anybody could ever give you because it at least gives you a chance. And they even have a system where once you hit 8th grade, you have to test into high school, their high school secondary grades. And if you don't test into them, you're just out of luck. You just don't get to go to high school. And so that is a huge year in and of itself, is sometimes kids even make it all the way through 8th grade, had the luxury of going to school, and then they hit 8th grade and they can't test into the high school grades based on their poor test scores. Well, really, that's not necessarily a result of how wise they are, but maybe their family situation. They weren't able to go to school for a year or two because they had to stay home and raise their brothers and sisters, or they could have been, a lot of the kids are extremely sick and malnourished, and so they're just not able to even necessarily pay attention in school. So school over there is a luxury, and the kids love it, and they can memorize just about anything you put in front of them just because they're so hungry for knowledge, and they value school so much because it does give them a chance, and it gives them some sense of dignity as a human being, that there's more to just toiling the fields and fighting for everyday life.
So, you know how there's lots of charity programs out there between Compassion and, every other group that does like sponsoring children and things like that. But why do you think our food program would benefit not only kids but everyone else along with it? And why would ours be set different from the rest? Obviously, we need food water,
Mm-hmm.
and then for kids to be successful. So why do you think our program would be better and stand out from the rest?
I think it not only gives kids their basic need of food and water, but it also provides opportunities for others in the community, and so they can hire Indigenous people to really provide jobs for them to give back to their own community. So it's self-sustainable in that way, and it also provides a micro enterprise avenue for people in the community who otherwise wouldn't have a job. And so I think that it's just a very wise model to encourage work in the community, and then also while meeting a need for kids.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.